Starting with the second session. The topic of the session is Changing Dynamics of Higher Education, Envisioning Strategies for the Future.
Before we start the session, we have the presentation from them. Can you support the give a 7 minutes presentation.
I would like to invite Dr. Apu Kuttan, Director Maulana Azad National Institution of Technology, to the stage. He'll be chairing the session. Ms. Ritu Ghosh, Manager, Government Advisory, Education, Environment, Innovation, HP, India. Mr. G.C. Sharma, Head Finance Education, National Stock Exchange. Dr. R.K. Kandal, Vice Chancellor, Gautam Budh Technical University, Lucknow. And Dr. P.K. Sen, Head Department of Applied Physics, Sri Govind Ram Saria Institute of Technology and Science. Professor Satish Sharma, Maharaja Educational Campus.
We have to just Jitendra Verma.
Before we start the session, there is a small presentation. And we also have Dr. V.K. Verma, Vice Chancellor, AISECT University. I said. Before we start the session, we have a small presentation from Mr. Jitendra Verma, Assistant Professor, Malwa Institution of Technology, who will be giving a small presentation on the applied education and value-based teaching, and he would be accompanied by his student, Pranjal Shroff.
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll be talking about impact on technical innovations by applying applied education's model through value-based teaching methods. So, a lot we have talked about the education and reforms in the education. Here, we are going to talk about how education methodology needs to be changed. Here I'm going to show you two logos, which is talking about one society which is profit-centric society and another society which is welfare-centric society. In our teaching methodology, in our entire society, so far we have developed since 1991 or even after Second World War, we are basically a profit-centric society. So everything in and around us, our education, our employability, our personal affairs, our festivals, our weddings, everything is a profit-centric society. So the transformation which value-based teaching can do is that to change the society from profit-centric to welfare-centric, taking your attention towards an idea that look at the big temples our ancient society has made. Look at the Khajuraho temple, look at the Taj Mahal, look at all these monuments. I don't see any profit, any objective which is profit-driven. So where is Eiffel Towers now? Where is other things, other such big monuments available? Because in today's society, nobody thinks to create value and welfare for mankind. Everybody is thinking of making profit. And that is the very reason we have Burj Al Khalifa and we have all other mechanisms which can churn money. And here we are actually leaving behind a very big mass which is the bottom of the pyramid. We are not able to address the very need of the bottom of pyramid. So I want to drag your attention towards if we will start teaching on the basis of the value-based teaching methods, we will be actually making a society which is accountable, not only responsible. The idea what I'm trying to say that except parenting in this world, in today's world in which we are living, except parenting, there is no any profession which is accountable and responsible both. Taking your attention, a teacher is accountable but not responsible. We claim that we will make all your wards and students pass the exam, but we don't. If anybody fails, nobody comes and asks us that what you did, how my student, my ward got failed. We are not accountable for them. And if you'll go to the police or politicians, they only take responsibility, they don't take accountability. So if you look at broadly, none of our professions are having accountability and responsibility both. So a value-based teaching will actually bring a system in which every individual being will be accountable and responsible both towards his job. And that is what is actually needed. Talking about the applied education, I'm talking about education which is goal-oriented. I'm talking about an education which is usable, which is updated. So in updation, I just wanted to talk. In 1940s and 45, when the idea of print newspaper has come, everybody was thinking about the patrakars and the press media. They were asking that, okay, it's okay you're doing press, but what is that job you're doing? So when the radio and the television has come, everybody was asking, it's okay you're singing in radio and television, but what is the job you do? I mean, it was not treated as a job. Simply, I'm talking about today's the social media and internet users segment, the society. Everybody asks, if somebody says I'm a freelancer over the internet, they ask, okay, that's okay, but what is that you do? I mean, we are not identifying that technology is changing the very ideologies, the very system of wherein profession has to be treated as. So we are not getting updated as much the society is getting updated globally. So here I'm talking about our education, applied education should convert our students' skills into employability, into contribution to the society, and also it will be creating individuals' identity. Look at America. I mean, they are more identity centric. I mean, it's not it's Steve Jobs who is speaking. It is Bill Gates who is speaking. It is people who are speaking. In India, it is system which is speaking. We are not making brand of that quantity. We are not making identity. So I'm just asking about by means, what I say applied education, I'm trying to say that making students a global citizen by sowing the seeds of identity building and image creation. And the last line which I've read out here is that we have to make a teacher as a manufacturer of knowledge, not the traders of the knowledge. And everybody have a role into it, the parents, the teacher, the education system, society, and the student in itself. So this is what I mean about the applied education here. Next, I'm talking about the impact of applied education and value-based. So I have written a term called service provider into the slide. Actually, I wanted to write clerk, because the Indians and the Australians, or the people who are the third world nations, are actually treated as either a clerk or the service provider, where China and Taiwan and all these countries are the world's manufacturer, and USA is precisely the world entrepreneur. Understanding this, and this entire globalization is actually treating each other as a market. So that is the whole ideology this picture is saying. Since 1991, the other picture which is showing that when we are the more socialistic economy and then we are turned capitalistic economy from last 20 years, what I'm trying to say is that now our society is very much ready to take up the challenge, which is suitable for this kind of applied and value-based teaching. By this mean I'm saying is our talented students will become goal-oriented, they will develop risk-taking ability, and yes, the last line which is important I'm trying to say is that what was the opportunities and resources available in 1970s in USA is available in these decades in India. And I'm just coming to next slide to explain it further. Yes, challenges of technical education is energy, is food, and it's habitation. And I have written 13 billion. It's a commercial calculation. Thomas L. Friedman in his book, it has written Hot, Flat, and Crowded, have written that a Kenyan is, if X is the amount a Kenya is consuming, then 32 into X is the amount an American is consuming. And then there are kettles and the puppets. So if you calculate, we have 13 billion stomach to fill by 2015. So like the technology which we are teaching in our college, is it that technology is capable enough to cater this need of future? So that's the question I'm leaving behind here. I'm talking about the potential of Indian students. So I'm talking about the Indian students who are the first generation of India after independence. So we have a generation, Mother India, wherein everybody was in debt. The movie Mother India you've seen, that was the first generation of this post-independent India. Then second generation, people were having education but not job and earnability. Then the third generation, people have education and job but no money. But this fourth generation I'm talking about, people have money, people have talent, people have knowledge, and people have minimized risk. They are liberal, they are innovative, and they are talented. So we just have to provide them facility so that they can make their own identity into the current society. That should be the focus, that should be the locus of our education that we are going to talk about. And doing this, we have observed that yes, students are getting potentials. Students are getting potential. So this is the last slide Pranjal will be telling you about. So this is what I have observed among my students. These guys are doing it.
Good afternoon to one and all. I might be the youngest speaker here, present here. So there are few differences between us. Like you all are guide and we all means I am a follower. Second difference is you all are talking about innovations and implementation and how it should be done. And I am going to tell you how it is going to be done. Okay, so for our example, I am going to discuss a project in front of you. This is a World Solar Challenge project which is held in Australia since 1987. Okay, after every alternate year, this program is held there. Now teams from all over the world participate in this event, and their objective is to make a car which is solar powered. Now we, the student of Malwa Institute of Technology, are preparing ourselves to participate in this project. We are focusing on the point that we have five years experience of Baha. Baha is the best technical event held in Pitampur of India. Okay, so the outcome of such projects will be like our research skills and manufacturing skills will be developed. Okay, a man need energy in all means throughout his life and daily routine and everything. He needs energy in form of fuels when in case of vehicles. He needs energy in form of electricity. 2 minutes please, 2 minutes. Okay, he needs energy in form of electricity. We all are talking about IT sector and softwares and software learnings. But have anyone get his point to the electricity or power generation? No, no one. And we are lacking with this. If we want to fulfill the need of this thing, then we have to look for the other resources. And solar energy can be the very good alternate resource for these kind of problems. Now, what is the main purpose of this kind of project is, when I stand here, I am representing my college. But when I'll be going to Australia, I'll be representing myself, my college, my town, my state, my nation. Okay, thanking you all. It's a great pleasure to present my views in front of you all. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everybody. The session is lagging behind 1.5 hours. I want to finish within half an hour this session because all want to go early. So I am asking every speakers to take 6 minutes only. Only you saw the slide faster than talking too much. I have to address, I also speak in 2 minutes only. One of the important things I observed from the education, innovating other things will come. You motivate and give promote the students, not negative attitude. That should be removed from the Indian culture. Always you have a positive attitude, and publicity also. Always they want to, today Minister was telling, so many negative things that write in big way. But people not appreciate what small thing students are doing in the press. So this positive attitude should develop. that will be definitely improve any system. Now first speaker I call V.K. Sharma. Yourself. Next is yours.
Thank you, sir. Since morning we have been talking about skill component in our education, so I will not dwell much on that. I have certain points on which I will give my views. Actually, just now the speaker, he said about something about the quality or value. So quality and quantity both are required to meet the national goal of economic development. We can't say only quality will do. We have 18 million students in our higher education now, and as per the government plan 12th, by 12th plan end, we will have 25 million students in our higher education. And that makes the biggest education system in this planet Earth. But the sad part is that in quality we are lacking, and I will touch upon various aspects which I feel will bring about quality in education. With so many universities, which are now about 654, and National Knowledge Commission demands that it should grow to 1,000 universities by 2020. With these many numbers, if you look at world ranking, none of our universities, none of our institutions figure in first 200. And one or two institutes which figured about 2 years back, they have also come down below 200. So that is the present scenario about the quality. And in that quality, there are various aspects which I will touch upon. One is, which has already been dealt, that our education system is knowledge intensive and not skill intensive. And there is a lot of things being said and plans being made. Prime Minister himself says that he wants 500 million skilled professional by 2020 to meet the economic growth requirement. And ISECT University, you must have seen the first presentation. We have gone in a big way to deal with this problem. This is one aspect. The UNESCO document says that education has 4 pillars: learning to be, learning to know, learning to do, and learning to live together. Unfortunately, our emphasis has been on learning to know, and all other 3 pillars have become weak, and this has to be strengthened. At higher education, the skill development has to take place. ISECT University, in ISECT University, we have introduced from this academic session 2 minimum skills will be required for any graduate to pass out. He will have to complete minimum 2 skill certification. Then the next point is research and innovation. In research, we talk about the number of research, but the meaningful research, if you look at, meaningful research means the research which should be to the benefit of the society, to upgrade the technology, to do good to the people. In that, I think there is some where we are lacking. And Innovation is another area. The Knowledge Commission has decided to name 15 university as innovative university. So that is the requirement to bring up the quality in research and innovation. In ISECT University, we have given a lot of motivation for taking the meaningful research. One research project is to grade the emission system. At the moment, we don't have any grading system in e-emission. We have many such projects. We have one project which is inclusive project, which is multidisciplinary in nature, and we are trying to adopt a village and improve the living condition both socially and technologically. So there are various projects which we are encouraging, and I think education will do a good thing if they imbibe the meaningful values in their research project. The next point is the mismatch in job market. At the moment, 25% of the professionals passing out from professional colleges are unemployed, and 60% are underemployed, and only 15% at the moment are I've been asked to quickly go through. So I will come to the most important point which I want to discuss is the governance of technical education system. At the moment, if you look at the governing system of technical education, a university, how many institutes and how many students it should handle? Is it right to a university to handle 4 lakhs students, 3 lakhs students? Geographically, how much spread it should take? This debate has to be there. In UP, they have already broken the technical university in 2, one in Noida and one in rest of the UP. And I think it has to be thought of that a university, how much it should handle from management point of view. Then I have one more point which I wanted to bring about is that for education administration, if we have so many million students in this system, we have so many lakhs of the teaching force and supporting force, shouldn't we have a cadre of technical education administrators, like if we can have for telecommunication, if we can have for railway service, if we can have for Indian administrative service, why can't we have a cadre for administration of technical education system? And why can't there be a forward thinking in our rules and regulation? Why we are going only by the written words and not by spirit? Why should we have only 50 acres of land or 10 acres of land and only so many professors, so many lecturers? Why can't we grow vertically? Why can't there be a forward thinking in our rules and regulation? The regulating body, why can't it take role of a mentor, a counselor, and a facilitator? And these are some of the aspects. I had many more aspects, but since time is short, I will finish it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very good afternoon, everybody. In the interest of time, I'll open up my talk with a small video. This video talks about a solution, an innovative solution, which has been enabling access to education, resources and tools to the last mile, and it is now also in consideration of being adopted by IGNOU to change the dynamics in distance education and higher education.
I wish I could fly. As I wake up each morning on beds of straw, the dreams that I have and the visions I saw, looking for answers, searching for teachers, seeking knowledge to change my future. The things I would aspire to touch, the many wonders of the world I had missed so much. Then, one day at the crack of dawn, there was a quiet presence in the wake of the crowd. Opening the doors to a new horizon, this kind man welcoming us all, saying, "Come, let us show you what you could be." Kings and queens and monuments tall, alphabets and numbers in visions coming to a reality. I touch them all. Dreams to fulfill these magic boxes grew, while land and sea and air they flew. Across villages and hamlets where no car could reach, where there were no schools, neither teachers to teach. There was not a challenge it could not face, no electric power. With friends and teachers waiting for me, I look forward to every passing day. The doors of learning were opening wide, connecting the whole nation from side to side. We wrote our names on our village site. We found doctors too, who would help and guide. I dream new dreams, have strength and knowledge to overcome challenges. I stand tall with new vigor, because today I believe I can fly.
Lab in the Box is a very potent tool for economic economies for achieving universal education.
Several millions who are not in schools. How do you take education to all?
Sorry, I'll skip slides in the interest of time. In the morning, we were talking about enabling resources and tools to that village. That one remote village, if the resources can reach, then we can say that yes, we have won the battle. This particular solution not only enables resources in one of those remotest of the villages, but also acts as a solution for many of the urban schools. I've personally visited schools in many urban locations where, trust me, there are computer labs which are lying locked with computers rusting. And there is no clue of where the computer lab is, what is it meant for, was it operational, when it be operational. The only reason being that when the computers were sanctioned, or any ICT tool for that matter was sanctioned, at that point in time there was no infrastructure, there was no room. When the room came up, there were no teachers. Till the time the teacher came in, the entire onus and responsibility was thrown on the teacher. These machines are obsolete, they don't have any servicing now, you have to set them up. So rather than enablers, they became devils. To a teacher, it appears that there's some kind of a devil that I have to now cater to, and so it's better it is lying locked, and I can utilize my classes for other purposes. So the problem is, what is the problem that we are staring at? We have
3 minutes.
Yes, I can. We have villages without schools.
6 minutes on that.
If there are schools, then we are without classes. If their classes are there, we are without teachers. If teachers are there, there are no books. In urban areas, only when we came up with a new curriculum for ICT, for first 6 months, there were no books available to the students, with the exams happening very next month. If we have such an urban setup, then forget about the villages. Where will the computers come from? Where will the connectivity come from? Are we truly living in a situation where we are in a demographic dividend? Will this youth, are we enabling this youth to add to the economic growth? Is the question. The real root cause of the problem is that all the resources that we spoke about are not integrated at one go, they are phased out. And to top this up, this high teacher absenteeism, there are most teachers who are going, they're signing that they're making themselves appear in villages, although they are living in the cities. There's a high student dropout, which is evident, there's poor quality of education, and no books, no electricity, no connectivity. What? Yeah, okay. So what we did at HP, we conceptualized a solution where we took a shipping container, as we know that India has more imports than exports, a used shipping container which was fabricated, which was tested to meet the temperature norms, to meet the air quality, to meet the environment norms, to have machines which consume the least of the power, which are from electricity provision either to solar systems or to teacher gen sets. There's a VSAT connectivity connected, everything baked in, ready-made. You, as the supply chain is already organized because these are containers, you can carry them through rail, through helicopters, deploy them in remotest of the villages from day one. It is operational from day one. You have a printer, you can print books, you can access the resources through Education Cloud or just through some server lying in some urban area. So this
Thank you very much.
I would like to conclude, it is a rapidly deployable infrastructure solution. Thank you.
Thank you for your area. Next speaker. GC.
Good afternoon. This is J.C. Sharma, representing National Stock Exchange. I'm going to present a very different kind of perspective of the whole. So the two parts of the presentation, one is changing dynamics and other is strategies part. So first, I will concentrate as to what are the dynamics that have changed over a period of time. Now we all know that we are all talking about 12 planned targets of gross enrollment ratio of 30%. More so because it is recognized that unless we have got a gross enrollment ratio of 20%, we cannot be economically advanced. So one of the criteria for us to grow is that we must have a high gross enrollment ratio. In order to get this 30% gross enrollment ratio, we definitely need to have around 1500 plus universities as per the National Knowledge Commission. Right now we have got around 564 universities. Every week 5 to 6 universities are being added, and we hope that by 2050 we might have around 1500 universities. Universities, whether they are government or private sector, they need to raise the resources. It's not the mandatory requirement even for the government universities to raise the resources. Therefore, the PPP model is coming into picture. More and more, private participation is a must, because if you have to have GR of 30%, we cannot do without, unless until the private participation comes in a very, very big way. And of course, as you know, 4 education bills are pending with the legislature, of which one is the foreign industries. And as the banks came into picture, some 15 years back, foreign banks came into picture. When the foreign industries come into picture in India, obviously there will be competition. This competition, we hope, will bring in positive changes in terms of quality. Another very important factor which is coming, because a very large requirement of skills requirement, and SIT Ministry has already framed the National Vocational Skill Framework. So both the integration of both academics as well as vocational skills. Now hereafter, as you all know, that higher education organizations like universities and colleges will be required to integrate vocational skills along with the academic skills. National Stock Exchange along with the CBSE is already starting on the 9th and 10th class level. The financial market management program, earlier it was the 11th and 12th class, now it starts from 9th, 10th class onwards. Now, because of large regulatory changes in the higher education, as I said, 4 bills are already pending. Maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line, the very scene of higher education is expected to totally change. You all talk of the India demographic advantage. What exactly it is? By 2030, China will lose 200 working population. Sorry, India will add 200 working population. China will lose around 100 million working population. And by 2020, the average Indian age will be around 29 years, 37 for China and 48 for Japan. It all implies that by 2020, we can be a supplier of skilled manpower to the entire world. But now let us have a ground reality on the check. As per the UNESCO study, around 75% of the engineers and 85% of the graduates are not employable. By number wise, it looks too small, but if you take the absolute numbers, where 20 million graduates every year, and you multiply 85%, that makes a very big number. So if so many army of unemployed graduates, all our progress will come to zero if they all turn to be problems for the society. Some of the realistic examples, even the management schools, have faced this picture that not being able to get the employment skills, they've been forced to shut down. Mainly, education system in India is not employment centric, it is knowledge centric. You all work very hard to earn money, but do we also make our money work hard for us? Generally, no. Whether we are engineers or doctors or architects, we do not know as how to make our money work hard. Very simple, basic facts like whether we put our money into fixed deposit or into mutual fund, which can be more tax friendly. We are not aware of those basic things. So one of the points what we want to advocate on this platform, that financial literacy is another life essential skills, just like we got the computer literacy. Now we cannot think of without computers, we call it a digitally illiterate person. Similarly, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line, will be financially illiterate and will lose out many things. By 2020, 3 studies have been conducted by Government of India through various bodies. One is by the Pension Fund Regulatory Government Authority. They estimated that India will need around 62 lakh professionals by 2020 into the financial market industry. Another study by the Gujarat government conducted by the World Bank and McKinsey, they estimated around 1 crore to 1.10 lakh professionals will be needed in the financial market industry. And another study conducted by the National Skill Development Corporation, which estimates around 56 lakh professionals being needed in the financial market industry. Now the solutions part.
Well, if you're a B school student, get ready for some stock trading practicals along with regular lectures as well. Leading B schools are lining up stock trading as a part of their curriculum, which Ami's Money tells you how.
In an era of extremely volatile markets, B schools are taking a lead to teach students the art of trading. Trading stocks, commodities, F&O and mutual funds, and near lifetime prices through online simulators may soon be a part of the daily class. IIM Ahmedabad has already started training students practically. Other B schools like SC Jain,
It's time is short, I am speaking the presentation, this part. There are very large number of employment opportunity into the BFSI sector, which we call it banking, financial and insurance sector, into the capital market, commodity market, currency markets, and debt market. The career into the financial markets provides for employable skills for the life. There are absolutely no retirement. If you got a mobile, you can continue to work, get employment, work full-time or part-time into this industry. Until last breath from this earth, we can continue to find employment into this industry, self-employment or employment purpose as well. This was the reason our Honorable Finance Minister made a statement that financial literacy should be made a compulsory subject at school.
Financial literacy could be made a compulsory subject for students of all streams in the level from first standards.
Taking that view, NSC has tied up with CBSE in the 11th and 12th class level programs in financial market. Coming year, 9th and 10th class level will find this at the financial market programs, 9th class, 10th class level onwards. Now, to provide vertical mobility for the students at MBA, BBA level, they got tied with organizations like IIM Shillong, Indraprasth University, Punjab University, Patiala, etc. So the idea is that the financial literacy should become essential life skill for the masses, both as the courses as well as for the other programs. Similarly, in Tamil Nadu, we have got some 3 lakh students undergoing the financial literacy program. Madhya Pradesh, next year we are starting at 11th and 12th class level. We also got for the colleges and management institutes, add-on joint certificate programs, 10 joint certificate programs we offer as a part of the solution because 85% of the graduates are not employable. One of the solutions is that while the students are doing the program, we offer this program under their semester program itself. We all do this all through add-on joint certificate levels, basically to develop these skills, and skill is developed through the NSC specially designed software called NSC Learn to Trade. With a step-by-step approach, I teach a student like swimming 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet water, similar to the 9 modular modules, so that all the financial market, the real market, one can actually trace all the 365 days, 24/7 through this software. Through all these innovations, of course, NSC was awarded the award also into the quality education, and we provide a lot of support to the university institutions as well as colleges for offering the joint programs right from the stage of curriculum development till the final stage of hand-holding and implementation. So I must thank you because time is short, therefore we are not to take it forward. Thanks a lot. So you want to contact me? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to complete that. Next person, Dr. P.K. Sen.
Thanks, Professor Putten, chairman of this session, vice co-speakers of this session, and also the ladies and gentlemen. My first thanks to the organizers for giving me this chance. And actually, I was informed that it should be more or less like a panel discussion. However, the speakers should be given some time to speak about their views. So I didn't come with anything. Because right from the morning we have been listening to all the learned speakers, including the minister, and we are all, I don't know whether we are excited or something is wrong. But just to start with, if you remember, our noted film stars like K.L. Saigal, Raj Kapoor, Lili Kumar, Karan Devi, Madhubala, or Meena Kumari. These people, we are all aware of them. And none of them have felt in their lifetime probably to go to a film institute to learn how to act in a cinema or in a theatre. The great Indian scientists like Professor C.V. Raman, Satyendranath Bose, P.C. Ray, Homi Bhabha, Meghna Saha, they never felt the need that they should have done a PhD research, rather a paper on research methodology just before starting their research work. None of the great businessmen of this country, whether it is G.D. Birla, J.R.D. Tata, or any other leading businessman in the early 20th century, they never felt that they should have to visit some business school to get some degree before they could start their business. But of course, we cannot deny the need of the hour. Knowledge has extended its wing, and the environment is totally changed. And we know that the environment has a major impact on the development of the individuals, the development of the society is heavily dependent on it. So when I talk about, especially the early 90s, like the market globalization, we have seen how in the short time that third world countries like China, India, Korea, Singapore, Thailand, on this part of the globe, similarly Brazil, or many other countries in Latin America, they could also have their own say in the development of technology, in the development of management education. Now today when we examine these things, we must have seen, and also we all know that necessity is the mother of invention. When the world provides so much of knowledge, and if this knowledge remains inaccessible to the students, obviously we probably do not do justice to our students' community. We have a moral responsibility. If the world is making so much of efforts to grow, to provide comforts to the society at large, then obviously we being the teachers, or we being the so-called administrators in the teaching institutes, we have a noble duty. We can't deny it. And just in the morning, when I was sitting in the library with my friends, then I just said that in India, we talk too much, we do very little. We have seen, this is our practical experience, after more than 60, and this is my practical experience, that the world, especially in the third world part, we talk and talk only. And sometimes when it's a question of implementing some of our talkings or some of our so-called philosophies, we try to deviate ourselves, we try to divert the attentions of the other people. I think the time has really come when we must try to self-criticize ourselves, and when we talk of this technology, we talk of engineering. Some speaker in this session was talking about another type of service like IAS, IPS, IES. Although there is an engineering services, but for the technical teachers, there should be some kind of technical education option. Now, I really do not know whether it was Professor Visvesvaraya or it was Professor C.V. Raman or it was Dr. Homi Baba, they have felt that these kinds of creation of another commission, another service sector would really do the job. The question is, how much is our commitment, how much is our devotion, how much is our sincerity, how much is our honesty to see that the next generation of us who are none else than our own sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, they get the genuine chance to see that the technology really improves and we have a definite say, and this can be possible. This is another interesting thing, that there is now, it is a very popular term, interdisciplinary fields, interdisciplinary subjects, interdisciplinary R&D activities. Now we cannot think of nanotechnology, everybody talks of nanotechnology. I have seen many people who deliver, courtesy Google, that they deliver talks on nanotechnology without probably knowing the basics of nanoscience or nanotechnology. It's a tragedy. And this is probably happens only in this country, that just by going to the Googles or by collecting some information from the internet, we become the speakers of such a specified areas. Now the time has come when we have to tell our own students, some of them are probably sitting in their back benches, I can see the young faces. I have the moral responsibility for the mature faces like ours, that we should go back, we should tell them that if we want to do something seriously in engineering, in technology, in social science, in basic science, whatever you name, it is basically or essentially the area of knowledge. And that knowledge is no longer segregated only for a sociologist on the social science, for a psychologist on the psychology, for a physicist on the physics. It's a time when we should have to impress the knowledge from the different sectors, from different areas, and then to blend them in such a way that we really become good engineers, good technologists, good scientists, or maybe good social scientists. I'm sure that this kind of talks may create some kind of interest in some of the younger generation of people, but at the same time, I do assure you, there are a lot of people in this city itself would be happy to see that genuine atmosphere is created for the development of technological manpower. Whatever we are talking about the unemployability or employability of the qualified engineers, if we offer the degree in 40%, then how can we call them unqualified? If we declare them passed in the engineering examination, then it is also our moral responsibility that if we have produced these engineers, we must see to it they can become useful to the society. May not be at the first leap, just as an assistant engineer, maybe as a junior engineer, or maybe as a sub-engineer. But we cannot forsake or we cannot neglect our responsibilities for our next generation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, I call upon Dr. R.K. Then Professor Hari Sharma, Maharaj Group of Institutions. To the
Thank you, Chairman, my fellow panel members, delegates. I start with my topic. I had prepared also 10 slides, but I skip all the slides. And we'll talk about, I had two parts of my presentation. First, it was more of data and theories. And second part was very, very practical to envision future strategies for higher education-based institutes. I'm also part of a campus which is running 6 colleges in all: engineering, management, education, art and science, B.Ed, and all sort of courses. Primarily, when we started these institutions, we had a vision and take it as that education is our religion. Means we do everything by karma and with dharma. Why we are different? Because in our campus, we have a center for incubation and innovation to provide real kind of employment to our students of management as well as technology students. Very briefly, I would like to mention a couple of projects we have taken up in the past and in present and planning for future also. One project we had given to management people, management students as dry cleaning Shopee. And the name we have kept as 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., specially meant for metro cities where a husband and wife or the couple doesn't have time even to cook meal. How can they think of clothes to iron and to wash? So two of my students, they came together, planned it for the project, and the project the basic idea behind this is invest zero and become hero. No investment, and we do support our students in all kind of planning as well as in financial part also, because the basic motive is why to serve others, make other people to serve you. This project took up in 2009 batch, and it is very, very successful, started in Ahmedabad. They are serving, roughly they started with the 500 people only as a pilot project. Presently they have 5,000 clients. And a person, those students who were invited for a job to earn only 10 to 15,000 rupees a job, money as a salary, and now they are paying this much to all 5 to 6 people, the 15,000, and they themselves are earning around 1 lakh rupees per month. They stand on their feet, contributing to society a lot, contributing to their families and to the nation also. Second project we have taken, because I belong to Udaipur, we have a campus at Udaipur, and this small city of 5 lakhs people only, we have tourism and no agriculture. But agriculture-wise, we have maize, Makkah. It's a full of area having all tribals. They, produce a lot of Makkah, and the lowest price could be 2 to 3 rupees kg. You can buy this. We have studied one project, went to Goa. They have studied that because Goa been meant for tourism, and they have a lot of pubs and all, and the drinking part is very, very famous there. We supplied and tested that how this Makkah papad with all 2-3 other flavors can be possible. They prepared it, gone to Goa, stayed there for 3 months, and all of, majority of the, B-class hotels, they liked this, and they given, very good order. When now, presently, I'm telling you the situation, they are not even able to supply to these B kind, and all maximum 5-star hotels are asking for the same, for their pubs. Third project we have in Udaipur, everybody is known about this project, is Royal Marriages. It is meant for this. Jagnivas Mandir, where Ravina Tandon, Arun Nair, all famous marriages are taken place. This project was started in very recently, 2011. 2 girls, they stood up for the project. We prepared the entire project, and one of the Delhi company, the event management company, they had given them very small pie of their share. And the very first project, the girls, they earned in a straight away, in one shot, 10 lakhs rupees. And the marriage was of NRI from Australia, 150 CR marriage, the total investment made by that NRI at Udaipur. And now they are preparing that, why to serve, even take the subcontract. We will prepare because they are local ones. They are serving in their city. They don't have to rush from one city to another city. They are staying back in their home. They don't have to spend on rent and all. Everything they have local. They are able to manage the all sort of kind of resources with their own. They know everybody, and with a very cheaper rate. Now this project, we expect that by 2015 they must be earning very, very nice, and some of the projects could be given them directly also, let's say of 50 CR or 30 CR marriages also. Another project we have a it's a kind of a forest fruit. No money. Nobody is going to buy, and only selling is there. And all the tribal people, they come to the city. Or if you ask them to sell us, we have agents, various agents in various villages, they sell them very, very cheap. And again, 2 to 3 rupees kg. You might have heard of Sharifa, the fruit. Another group of our students, they are planning to set with juice industry for Sharifa. It's a very, very unique kind of product. This project is in pipeline. They are planning, because the privatization part is a bit difficult, but if they need any investment, we are there to support them. And one very good project, because it's a tribal belt. No organized work for ladies. So what the two girls, they have started one female maids servants. They are preparing and educating them and employing them. And the price is quoted by just going to every homes. They must be earning around 2,000 to 3,000 rupees. But they are providing them a dress, a proper dress code, all etiquettes, how to work. They have divided into part-time and full-time. And they have now a force of, they have started with only 10 maids. Probably they have, number is around 90 to 100 maids. And they are catering to all good clients, earning around 5,000 to 6,000 rupees per month for one maid. And only 10% goes to the company of these students' company. Some of the projects are for engineering students. In the very first year, we asked them, please contribute to your college because you are there with us.
3 minutes more.
Last 1 minute, sir. They have contributed us till date. This is our 6th batch so far. They have given us an electric-based car to us to move the eco-friendly. They have given us solar lights. They have given us electronic boards. They have given us many things, like small things. They are preparing us many softwares for enabling the entire institutes, the library, etc., etc. So, I mean, basic idea behind this is, if you would like to do something for this, ask the students, don't dependent on others. Be independent, work hard for yourself, contribute to the nation, contribute to your family, and by this doing, you feel part of, the whole nation is dependent on you. Why to be servants? Be masters. And the last point is this. It's a CSR also. We have a very, very strong CSR. CSR means we are contributing to society also. Some of part is asking students to feel the pain of poor also. We have evening classes for tribal children, free of cost. And some of our B.Ed teachers and students, they get training also. They are teaching them by, they are educating them with because they don't have money to pay fees. And also visiting some of the handicap centers and old age centers, spent whole day along with us as a trustee of the college and the chairman of the college. We also spend with them because we also feel, we should feel their pain also. That is why, I mean, by just concluding this, my point is we should prepare, the real workers for the nation. Why to work for others? They should work for themselves to make the nation more and more prosperous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next person is Dr. R.K. Kanil.
Good afternoon, Jayavant sir. अब क्या बोलें? बोलेंगे तो बोलेगा कि बोलता है. Okay. Friends, actually ये हर conference में होता है. जिनको नहीं बोलना चाहिए, जिनको बहुत कम बोलना चाहिए, सेन साहब ने बिल्कुल सही कहा, वो बहुत ज़्यादा बोल जाते हैं. जिनको बोलना चाहिए मेरे जैसे लोगों को, उनके बेचारों को टाइम नहीं मिलता बोलने का. और उनकी किस्मत में ऐसे चेयरपर्सन मिल जाते हैं, सारे आपको बद्दुआ देंगे जितने स्पीकर हैं. और बहुत अच्छा हो गया कि सुनने वालों ने भी आपको बता दिया कि साहब बोलने दो, इनको बोलने आए हैं ये. एनीवे फ्रेंड्स, दैट्स जोक्स अपार्ट. let me share with you some of my views, very serious views, because this is a session which is supposed to be the theme of this conference, the trends of higher education today. Why this is the theme? Because it's based on this. You decide what technologies are required. Based on this, you decide how you are going to frame your strategies, devise your plans, develop your policies, and put them in place to match what is required and where the gaps exist. I'll just try to share with you in 1.5 to 2 minutes, first part of my presentation, what is the trend today at different levels. At the level of policy makers, मंत्री जी ने आज सुबह बता दिया, trends are not varying. I mean, they might be varying, but they converge at one point. The trend is that education should be given to all, which is normal. India is इतने करोड़ों की population which is young. You know, you should give knowledge to them. You should educate them. एक trend ये है कि 600 यूनिवर्सिटी से 1500 यूनिवर्सिटी, 12th 5-year plan, 20% ड्रॉप, 20% अपटेक से 30%, और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कॉलेज खुलें. एक ये ट्रेंड है पॉलिसी लेवल पे. ट्रेंड एट द टीचिंग लेवल इज फटाफट करो जल्दी से. यूनिवर्सिटी को बोला गया, यूनिवर्सिटी ने क्या, हर यूनिवर्सिटी का प्लान है इंक्लूडिंग माई यूनिवर्सिटी. फर्स्ट रिमार्क होता है, अंडरलाइनिंग रिमार्क, वी मेंटेन अवर टाइम शेड्यूल. None of the university says we maintain our standard to the highest level. No, we maintain our time schedule. Exam time से, evaluation time से, result time से, enrollment time से, सब कुछ time से. मतलब बच्चा 12वीं के बाद कॉलेज में क्या निकला, 4 साल में फट से वो निकल के इंजीनियर बन गया. टाइम मेंटेनेंस. कैन यू इमेजिन ट्रेंड ऐसा है, किसी IIT ग्रेजुएट से पूछिए और उनके रिजल्ट उठा के देखिए. फर्स्ट ईयर में बहुत सारे बच्चे पुअर होते हैं, सेकेंड ईयर में कम पुअर होते हैं, और वो स्टूडेंट्स खुद बताते हैं कि पता नहीं थर्ड ईयर और फोर्थ ईयर में कैसे हम ब्रिलियंट हो गए कि सबके फर्स्ट क्लास और सबके अच्छे अच्छे मार्क्स आ रहे हैं. मैं अभी 3 महीने पहले वाइस चांसलर बना. सबसे पहले मैंने ये इवैल्यूएट किया भाई हो क्या रहा है यूनिवर्सिटी में. तो देखा कि फर्स्ट ईयर में 50 से 60% बच्चे फेल हो रहे हैं. तो मैंने कहा भाई क्या हुआ यार, 12th तो इतना अच्छा, तो सब लोग पढ़ के आते हैं ट्यूशन करके और ये सब आते हैं. बोले साहब बात ये है, सबसे पहली बात तो ये आई कि साहब फर्स्ट ईयर में आते ही उनको अंग्रेजी पढ़नी पड़ती है. दूसरी बात ये है कि फर्स्ट ईयर में सारा 4 साल का सिलेबस जो सबसे मुश्किल है वो फर्स्ट ईयर में ही है. और बोले जो गेस्ट फैकल्टी है वही फर्स्ट ईयर में पढ़ाती है, और जो बड़े प्रोफेसर हैं वो थर्ड ईयर और फोर्थ ईयर को पढ़ाते हैं. ट्रेंड की बात कर रहा हूं मैं आपको यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पे. अच्छा, स्टूडेंट लेवल पे क्या ट्रेंड है, फर्स्ट ईयर और सेकेंड ईयर में रगड़ाई होती है, थर्ड ईयर से वो बात करने लग जाते हैं प्लेसमेंट की. जो प्लेसमेंट सेल होता है उसके साथ सारे बच्चे, जो टीचर प्लेसमेंट सेल का इंचार्ज होता है, सब उसकी चमचागिरी कर रहे होते हैं. मजाक नहीं कर रहा हूं फ्रेंड्स, इट इज अ फैक्ट. बिफोर दे गेट द डिग्री पहले से उनका फिक्स होता है कहां से MBA करना है. ट्रेंड ये है कि ज्यादातर हमारे बच्चे जो हैं वो बाहर जाने का कर रहे हैं, लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेट ट्रेंड ये है कि वो किसी टेक्निकल डिग्री के लिए नहीं, वो सब के सब MBA करने जा रहे हैं. और अभी एक साहब ने बताया कि 200 बिजनेस स्कूल्स बंद हो गए, शट डाउन. AICTE भी कहती है कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा MBA इंस्टीट्यूट्स बंद हो रहे हैं. ये एक ट्रेंड है स्टूडेंट लेवल पे. तो ये 3 ट्रेंड हैं, और इन ट्रेंड्स का क्या आउटकम हो रहा है मैं आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहता हूं. 3 लेवल हैं. एक लेवल है एजुकेशन का, दूसरा लेवल है नॉलेज का, और तीसरा लेवल है एक्सपर्टीज का. इन ट्रेंड्स की वजह से हम दूसरे लेवल पर, नॉलेज लेवल पे जा ही नहीं पा रहे हैं. वी आर स्टक एट एजुकेशन लेवल. दैट्स व्हाई वी आर, आवर टर्म इज आल्सो हायर एजुकेशन, नॉट हायर नॉलेज, नॉट हायर एक्सपर्टीज. एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी डोंट टॉक ऑफ रिसर्च, पेटेंट्स, वो आते ही नहीं. वो सिर्फ प्रधानमंत्री जी जब 1 जनवरी को भाषण देंगे साइंस कांग्रेस में, आप देख लेना, जब अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने भाषण दिया था साइंस कांग्रेस में, तब भी वही था और आज भी वही है कि हमारी रिसर्च डिग्रीज उस क्वालिटी की नहीं है जिस क्वालिटी की होनी चाहिए, और हमारे पेटेंटिंग उतना नहीं है जिस तरीके का चाइना का है. ये उसका फॉल आउट है. इट्स अ फैक्ट. दूसरा बताता हूं एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी का. एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी के भी 3 लेवल होते हैं. देखिए हम लोगों को इंडिया में क्या बचपन से सिखाया जाता, उत्तम खेती, मध्यम व्यापार और निम्न चाकरी. एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी का हिंदी में मतलब है चाकरी. ओके, उस निम्नतम स्तर के लिए भी हम टेक्निकल यूनिवर्सिटीज और बड़ी बड़ी हायर एजुकेशन करके वो निम्नतम स्तर पर भी नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं. सेकेंड लेवल इसका क्या है, सेकेंड लेवल इसका है एक्सिक्यूटर्स. एक तो हो गए चाकरी, एम्प्लॉयड, एक हो गए एक्सिक्यूटर, और थर्ड लेवल हो गया डिजाइनर. डिजाइनर तक हम अभी पहुंच भी नहीं पाए. चाइना 15-20 साल पहले मेड इन चाइना होता था, और आज वो फक्र से कहते हैं मेड बाय चाइना. और इंडिया अभी हम बड़ी मुश्किल से, बाहर जाइए कपड़े खरीदिए, बड़ी मुश्किल से किसी कपड़े पे मिल जाएगा मेड इन इंडिया, अदरवाइज लिखा भी नहीं होगा मेड इन इंडिया. We have not even been able to reach that level of made in India. That is one fallout. स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन की बात करते हैं, उसके भी 3 लेवल हैं. एक लेवल है कैपेबिलिटी का, दूसरा लेवल है डिफरेंशिएशन का, और तीसरा लेवल है बहुत हाई है, दैट इज हार्मोनाइज स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन एट द इंटरनेशनल लेवल. ज्यादातर यूनिवर्सिटीज जो हम बात कर रहे हैं 650 या 640, आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू एंड वेयर डू वी फिगर, वी आर स्टिल एट द कैपेबिलिटी स्ट्रगल स्टेज. वी हैव नॉट इवन गॉन टू द नेक्स्ट स्टेज, दैट इज डिफरेंशिएशन. कुछ यूनिवर्सिटीज डिफरेंशिएशन कर रही हैं जहां बच्चे काउंसिल होके चले जाते हैं, बाकी सब इधर उधर कहीं ना कहीं एडमिशन लेके सब लोग डिग्री ले लेते हैं. दैट इज व्हाट द स्टेटस इज. द नेक्स्ट थिंग विच इज द फॉल आउट, that is about the quality of education, is accreditation. That also has 3 levels. The first level is being able to walk. Second level is comply. And third level is go beyond. There are hardly any institutes and university in the country which are beyond level. Hardly any, counted few. Most of us are trying to struggle to comply. If you take the list of NBA accredited universities or colleges in the country, I think the top is Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka, and there again the institutes are not more than 50 or 60. A state like UP, only 7 or 8 colleges which are actually NBA accredited. So what are we talking? The last one is the evaluation. We evaluate our students. किसी यूनिवर्सिटी में 60% आ रहे हैं, वही बच्चा अगर किसी और यूनिवर्सिटी में जा रहा है उसके 90% आ रहे हैं. We are not able to evaluate them. उसके भी 3 लेवल हैं. एक डिस्क्रिप्टिव लेवल है, एक एनालिटिकल लेवल है, और लास्ट लेवल क्रिएटिव लेवल है. क्रिएटिव तक तो पहुंच ही नहीं पा रहे हैं. क्रिएटिव तक नहीं पहुंचेंगे तो डिजाइनर नहीं पैदा करेंगे. डिजाइनर नहीं पैदा करेंगे तो ग्रोथ ओरिएंटेड और एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेटर्स कहां से आएंगे? वेरी गुड, भाई साहब ने बताया कि उदयपुर में वो एंटरप्रेन्योर और वो सब कर रहे हैं, बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन वो कितना कम और कितना निम्न है ये विचारणीय है. अब लास्ट पार्ट पे आता हूं अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन के, बिकॉज 6 मिनट होने वाले होंगे. आपने लिख दिया पर्ची में? नहीं, आपने पर्ची नहीं लिखा अभी, पर्ची में लिखा नहीं. देखिए ऐसा है कि लास्ट पार्ट पे आ रहा हूं, फिर वाणी को विराम दूंगा. और लास्ट पार्ट है अपॉर्चुनिटी. दोस्तों बात यह है कि अपॉर्चुनिटीज इतनी ट्रेमेंडस हैं हर लेवल पे. अपॉर्चुनिटी स्टूडेंट लेवल पे है, अगर स्टूडेंट्स प्रॉपर ठीक से जगह देखें. आज अच्छी अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटीज में रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स के पद खाली हैं. जब इंडिया से कोई लिखता है स्टूडेंट फेलोशिप के लिए अमेरिका में, तो उसकी चिट्ठी का मैं रूप बताता हूं आपको. आई एम सो एंड सो, माई फादर इज सो एंड सो, आई पास्ड आउट फ्रॉम देयर एंड माई परसेंटेज इज दिस, आई वॉन्ट टू वर्क विद यू, हाउ मच फेलोशिप यू विल गिव, एंड विल यू बी एबल टू पे फॉर माई टू एंड फ्रो. और उसी फेलोशिप के लिए जब एक चाइनीज लिखता है तो वो लिखता है आई एम सो एंड सो, आई विल बी एबल टू डू दिस, आई वांट टू लर्न दिस, वुड यू गिव मी एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू लर्न इन योर लैब? समबडी वाज टेलिंग कि ऐसा करेंगे कैसे? ये सब आप बात कर रहे हो, ये बहुत अच्छी है, करेंगे कैसे? एंड दैट इज माय लास्ट पार्ट सर, 1 मिनट ओनली. देखिए एजुकेशन के जो आयाम हैं, जो डायमेंशंस और डिग्रीज हैं, वो एक तो है टेक्नोलॉजी लेवल पे, विच इज अ टूल विच इज टू असिस्ट यू. It cannot lead you. It can put you in the leadership position, but it will always be your assistant. Whether you go to villages to put people like HP, TCS, all these companies which are taking their technology to masses, technology can only play a tool. The leadership role has to come from the human factor, and that is from the teacher. The teacher has to play the role of showing the student this is the way to go, this is the way not to go. Do's and don'ts has to be shown by the teacher. अच्छे अच्छे रेस्टोरेंट्स इसलिए नहीं चलते कि उनके पास प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी है और बहुत बढ़िया एयर कंडीशनिंग रेस्टोरेंट्स हैं. वो इसलिए चलते हैं क्योंकि उनको पता है कि कितनी हींग डालनी है, किस में किस चीज का छौंक देना है और किस तरीके से सर्व करना है. ये टीचर सिखाता है, ये ह्यूमन फैक्टर है. और ह्यूमन फैक्टर में संस्कृति आती है, संस्कार आते हैं. ह्यूमन फैक्टर में देश की मर्यादा आती है, जहां मर्यादाएं, संस्कृति, संस्कार, इन सब का पुट होके जो ह्यूमन फैक्टर टीचर से मिलता है, उससे प्रॉपर एजुकेशन होती है. प्लस जो मोस्ट मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी है, यूज्ड एज अ टूल, मेक्स द होल थिंग सक्सेस. आई थैंक यू ऑल फॉर गिविंग मी दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी. मुझे इंदौर आके बहुत अच्छा लगा. सबसे अच्छी बात ये थी कि एयरपोर्ट से यहाँ तक आते हुए जो सड़क थी, उसके बीच में जो सड़क का जो डिवाइडर है, अब आप जाएंगे तो देखिएगा, उसमें बहुत अच्छे कचनार के पेड़ लगे हैं। मैंने कहीं नहीं देखा, सिर्फ मैंने गुजरात में देखा है कि हाईवेज पे निकल जाओ तो चारों तरफ बरगद के पेड़ हैं और अच्छे अच्छे पेड़ हैं। ये सिर्फ इंदौर में देखा। अगर ऐसा सब लोग करने लगे, अगर हमारे सिविल इंजीनियर्स रोड्स को डिजाइन करने में बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट संस्कृति के लेने लगे, पेड़ अगर सड़क पे होगा तो सड़क की लाइफ बढ़ेगी। ये अगर सिविल इंजीनियर्स को पढ़ा दिया जाए, अगर केमिकल इंजीनियर्स को पढ़ा दिया जाए कि अगर पेड़ साइड में होंगे तो जो उनका थर्मल एक्सपेंशन है रोड का और जो हीट एनर्जी लॉस है, फ्यूल एफिशिएंसी है, वो बेटर होगी, तो बहुत अच्छे इंजीनियर्स पैदा होंगे, देश तरक्की करेगा, आगे बढ़ेगा। और हमें ऐसे बहुत अच्छे अच्छे चेयरपर्सन्स मिलेंगे जो टाइम का बड़ा पाबंद रखें, और ऐसे ऐसे ऑर्गेनाइजर मिलेंगे, ऐसे ऐसे ऑर्गेनाइजर मिलेंगे जो ये ध्यान रखें कि हर सेशन को बराबर बराबर टाइम मिले और हमारे जैसे गरीब आदमी को भी बोलने का मौका दिया जाए। थैंक यू वेरी मच, आपने मुझे सुना, मैं आपका बहुत आभारी हूं और इंदौर आके बड़ा धन्य फील करता हूं और भाग्यशाली समझता हूं। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much, sir. In just a concluding remark, all the 5 persons are spoke in different things about quality, opportunity to come, mini enterprise, then new innovative projects to start. These all are required. These are the problems what India faces. So I record my sincere thanks to all the speakers. So I record organizers to give me an opportunity to come here and chair the session. Any few questions are there? 1 or 2 questions you can ask now. 1 or 2 questions can ask. Okay. You also all of you understood about time management. Thank you very much. With usually my project students also, I give 10 minutes just to show the slide. Go on. Teachers have a habit. If we get a mic, they continue to speak for hours together. So that is why I made a time management. Thank you very much, Tala.
So we request all the speakers to please be here. We would like to present mementos to all the speakers. No, sir. I thought the question and answer round is going to be there, so there was no question.
You are from which place? Kottayam? At Trichy. Very good, very good.
Yeah. I would request Dr. Pukuttam to give away the mementos to all the speakers.
Ladies first, ladies first. Ladies first.
To Ms. Ghosh, Manager Government Advisories, Education, Environment, Innovation, HP India. Dr. P.K. Sen, Head Department of Applied Physics, Sri Govind Ram, Seksaria Institute of Technology and Science. Mr. R.K. Kanda, Vice Chancellor, Gautam Buddha Technical University, Lucknow. Dr. Sharma, Head Financial Education, National Stock Exchange. Professor Satish Sharma, Maharaja Educational Campus. Professor Verma. हाँ वो एक सेकंड. I would request Dr. Khandal to please give a no. Thank you, Dr. Kutan, for moderating the session. It was nice for keeping the time limit. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for the session.